Good afternoon and welcome to another Stafford Education online live masterclass. My name's
Hello.
Stafford and I'm going to be your host today. We've got the fantastic Lydia Wolfe with us, a up and coming star in the industry, making waves. So she's going to be putting a wonderful twist on the graduated Bob, the Stafford Education classic graduated Bob. Like normal, guys, any questions that you've got, please put it in the chat and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Well, we'll answer all of them, actually. And we will be having a competition towards the end of the show today. So without further ado, I am going to pass you over to the one and only Lydia Wolfe. Take it away, girl.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Lee. Thank you for having me, everybody. And yes, I'm Lydia Wolfe. Nice to meet you. I'm one of the STAFs. And if you've been on one of the masterclasses with myself before, then lovely to see you again. And if not, then thank you very much for coming. It's lovely to meet you. And thank you, everyone, for being with us here today on this lovely Monday afternoon. We're going to be talking, or I'm going to be showing you the graduated Bob, the Lee Stafford graduated Bob recipe, which is my favorite cutting recipe. So I cannot wait to share with you all my tips and tricks. And as you can see, she's already pre-sectioned. This is Leonie, by the way. So Leonie is already pre-sectioned, ready to go. And I have to make an admission. I have half cut her already because it's a really, in-depth and it can be quite a detailed and intricate recipe. And the things that I'm going to be going through with you, I really want to talk about in real detail. So that's why I've sped up the process by doing half beforehand, because I've only got an hour with you guys today, so that we can really delve into the details of how to make this recipe something that's really unique to the model or the client. And also so that, we can really get it looking absolutely crisp and perfect and beautiful without me rushing through it and throwing hair on the floor.
And it's the same on both sides, right, Lydia? So whatever you do on one side is exactly the same on the other.
That's exactly it. So that's why I felt like I could skip ahead a little bit so that we can break it down. Yeah, wonderful. So starting with this beautiful lady, how is that? Is that close enough for everyone? Please, if at any point, like obviously fire away with questions, but I'd also love to know if you want me to move the mannequin or if you want her to be closer so that you can see some more detail. Just let us know in the comments.
I'll be your eyes there as well, Lydia.
Oh, thank you very much, Lee.
You're welcome.
So talking through our pre-sectioning, first of all, our first section takes us up to just below the occipital bone. We've also got a lovely horseshoe section on the top, which we've divided just behind the ear. And then it's also divided into two sections just between the horseshoe and the occipital bone. So this first section is a nice satisfying section because we can cut it in one hit. And the reason that we do that is to allow for any growth patterns in the hair or any kind of unusual hairlines. By taking a nice thick section, we can put some weight behind it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a really nice short shape today. I want to talk to you about how versatile this haircut is. It's one of my favorites because it's really, really classic, that reinvents itself all the time. You see versions of it coming back into fashion again and again and again through the decades. But it's also just one of those staple classics that you will always have a clientele for, because they will always, it's so timeless. But that being said, you know, there's so many different versions of it that we can create. So that is what I really want to talk to you about, how we can get creative by personalizing this haircut for different people, for different clients and their face shape and their lifestyle. So we are going to start by creating quite a short shape, and therefore my first baseline I'm going to be cutting in is going to be right up to the hairline.
Just want to say hello to Amanda Smith from Newcastle College. Welcome to the show today.
Hello.
How is this going to be a spin on our classic graduated bob, Lydia?
What we're going to be doing that's a spin on it is at the end, we're really going to get creative with the baseline. So what you'll find with the graduation is you'll get naturally a beautiful shape that we then follow with the Lee Stafford recipe by taking it into a lovely bob, one length bob round the face. But what you can get really creative with is that baseline, we can completely personalize to the client. You can cut right into that shape. You can create new shapes. So there's no reason, I mean, it's scary to do it, but there's no reason why you couldn't take it from really, really short to really, really long. There's no reason why you couldn't take it from short at the front to long at the back. So I'm going to show you what we can do to personalize it and be creative. So we're going to get really creative with our outline today.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. Tracy Richardson says, how easy or hard did you find it to do the graduated part to the bob?
I think that once you absolutely nail the recipe, it is easy. But you can't ever really let your eye off the ball, which is why I think the amount of guidelines that you have in this recipe is really, really helpful. So speaking of which, I've now cut my baseline in and I'm going to let my next section down. I've not blow dried this underneath part like in the recipe. The reason being is that it's just really short, so I wouldn't be able to get much of a bevel into it. So I'm going to continue onto my next section, which I then take a vertical section through the middle. And clip the rest out of the way.
Emilia has said, is a graduated bob a popular cut in the salon?
Yes, in my salon it's very popular. I'd say it's one of those things where every salon probably has a slightly different clientele in terms of age group, in terms of like personal style. They say your vibe attracts your tribe, so different types of salons attract different types of people. But this is one of those that is really popular in my salon with the age group of the clientele that we have, definitely. But also with kind of all age groups, it's really one of those things where you might look at a graduated bob sometimes, and because it's not what your eyes trained to believe is a graduated bob, you wouldn't even know that build up of weight is actually a really soft bit of graduation that's been created in there just to make it sit really nicely into the neck. So now taking my underneath section, that's what I'm going to use for my initial guideline. Using my vertical section, I'm now going to angle my fingers. And with my elbow pointed up to the ceiling, I'm going to put a slight angle.
That looks good the way you're doing that, Lydia.
Oh, thank you.
What Laura said, what was your first experience like with the graduated bob?
Do you know what? I can't remember my first one, but I can remember my first bad one. That stuck with me for a long time. I can remember I lost my way with my guidelines and I created a pretty dodgy haircut. It's a lot shorter than the client wanted. This was back when I was training. And it was a huge learning curve for me. Definitely made me go back and remember cross-checking. If I'd cross-checked a lot more, I wouldn't have lost it. And if I'd really kept my guidelines very clear, I wouldn't have lost it either. So that still haunts me to this day.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, they don't leave you, do they, the bad ones?
No.
So now my next section is a sliver section that I'm taking just below my horseshoe, following it all the way around. So a
Do you
sliver
think
section.
it helps putting that slither in?
What's that, sorry?
Do you think it helps putting that sort of slither T section in?
Yes, absolutely, because it gives you more guidelines to work off, so you've got less room to lose your way. And then bringing that all back to you. My body position is completely parallel to the back of the head, and I'm central as well. And then I'm going
That's just a square line you're putting in there. Is that correct, Lydia?
Exactly. I'm just putting in a completely square line that's going to help us follow through the rest of this section.
Amber said, what do you like most about doing cuts?
I think the instant transformation, you know, it's a real sculpture that you're creating for the client, and they can see it within an hour from start to finish. You can transform someone, and that's really fun.
It's quite definite, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. A real defined change. So now I'm going to be working in sections from the center, vertically, from the center to the side. And now what I've got is 3 guidelines, because I've got my top guideline that we've just created with our square section. And we've also got our bottom guideline, and then the guideline that we've just created with our vertical guideline. So it gives us a lot of safety nets for not over directing or creating too much weight, or even worse, removing too much weight in a certain area. Next section.
Got a question here from Laura. She said, how long did it take for you to be happy and confident with cutting a bob?
I think because I had a really bad experience very early on that really stuck with me, I made myself practice it and get good at it very quickly. Because, like I say, it's such a popular haircut that I couldn't get away with not doing it very well. It's not like I could just go, oh, well, hopefully I won't have any in this week. I had to bounce back. I had to get good at it really quickly. So, you know, with probably a few weeks of really putting in extra effort and practice, I felt confident after that. I bounced back. How many of you guys have practiced a graduated bob or created a graduated bob that you're really happy with?
Emilia says, is cutting your favourite aspect of hairdressing?
Oh, now you're going to make me choose. It's not, but in my salon, we don't pick and choose one type of technique, you know, as in we don't have color technicians separate from hair cutters, which is what some salons do. And that's because we all love the variety of doing both. You know, we love doing cut and color, and we love seeing our clients through their whole journey, through their entire transformation journey from start to finish.
So what would you choose if you had to choose one? If you had to specialise in one, what you specialise in?
No, you can't ask me that. If I had to choose one for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
forever and ever,
Forever and ever.
cutting, I think.
Would you?
Yeah. Because if I couldn't see that end part of the process where you finish the client, that's hard. I think being a colour technician and then passing over your work to someone else to be finished and then not seeing them again, I think that would be hard. So now I'm going to cross-check my previous sections, and I'm going to do that by just pushing the hair to one side using my thumb to hold the sections out of the way, and then have a look at my line. I want it to be a square line parallel.
Maybe you could turn around the other way, Lydia, so we could see that. Could you get your body around the other side? Is that possible? That's it, round that way. That's it.
How's that?
I think that might work better.
Yeah.
Have you always used that kind of finger technique to keep the hair out of the way?
I think this is one that I learned when I started training to be a staff.
Right. It's a nice one, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's a good one, isn't it?
It's very satisfying. See your work and
very controlled, isn't it?
Yeah.
And quick.
That's the most important thing. Is you don't want to rush through the process, but as hairdressers, we do have commercial timescales that we have to stick to. You know, the client literally can't sit in the chair for 3 hours and let you cut their hair for 3 hours. You know, they have places to be, but also you need to fit other clients in your day, don't you? So absolutely.
How do you, what advice would you give to our students who are struggling with the one-hand straightener?
Oh, I would say stick with it because it's such a useful, just keep practicing it. Don't be afraid to get your client to move their head to help you because they're really not going to mind. You know, your client probably gets bored sitting in one place for the whole entire haircut. It's probably nice for them to be told what to do and move around. They genuinely do not mind moving if it means that the result of their haircut is going to be better.
So is that something you use, Lydia, all the time?
Yes, absolutely all the time.
Yeah, it's such an amazing technique, that one-hand straightener, isn't it?
It's so quick. You're not faffing with lots of clips. It's so fast, you know, and really what you should be doing once you've done an amazing blow dry is you should just be smoothing the cuticle, you know, just literally just giving it that beautiful shine and finish because you've done all the hard work already. You don't need to go through and redo all your hard work, do you?
Exactly. Laura says, how long would this cut take you to do in the salon?
I personally would like a whole hour for this. The reason being is that I want to spend a good 10 minutes having an in-depth consultation with my client. And then I also want to spend a good 10 minutes after the blow dry refining and personalizing the haircut as well. So I personally would want a whole hour for this. I know some people work much better at shorter appointments, like 45 minutes. But for me, I like a good 10-minute consultation. So I really know exactly what I'm doing ahead of starting. And I also want a whole 10 minutes of refining and personalizing to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So now that I've reached the outer sections, what you'll find is as you reach the bottom of your section, that it doesn't meet your lower guideline anymore. But that's okay. Don't try and connect it. Just keep it disconnected and the longer pieces will fall out because we'll deal with them in a second. So last section.
Oh, we've got a question here for me. Jamie Lee Curtis says, Lee, did you come up with the one-hand straightening recipe? I would love to say I did, but I didn't. And what does Picasso says? Say, he says, a great artist copies. No, a good artist copies, a great artist steals. And I stole it from one of my mentors called Stacey Broughton, who was the #1 hair cutter at Sassoons for probably 2 decades. In my opinion, was the best hair cutter in the world when he was doing it. He's retired now. And I don't know where he got that from, but that was definitely where I got it from Stacey Broughton. Do you remember Stacey Broughton, Lydia? Or was that before your time?
Yeah, so I think he was a bit before my time, as in
Yeah.
I don't necessarily remember him, but he is a legend of Sassoon, isn't he, and precision haircutting.
Oh, he was incredible. The man was just a genius. He really was. But anyway, I watched Stacey Broughton for many, many years at Sassoons. Cut a long story short, he ended up coming to work with me for quite a few years, and we went around the world together doing shows for L'Oreal, and I got that technique from him.
Amazing story. I'm going to wrap dry the back now, and I'm going to do a one-hand straighten. Wait, no pressure after that story.
So the competition question today, guys, and so the question is, and it'll be the first one today that gets to the right number. So how many online masterclasses, like the one you're watching today, have we done on a Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock, just like today? How many Lee Stafford Education online masterclasses have we done since last year? That is the question today for a goodie box of Lee Stafford products, guys. The first one that gets to the right number. Oh, here we go. The one-hand straightener.
Lovely.
One-hand straightener.
So what I am doing is I've tilted my lovely client's hair away from me. I'm using my comb to draw a diagonal line. And that's going to create my section. Then I'm going to use my thumb, almost like a sectioning clip, and just hold the hair above it out of the way. And then taking the comb and straightener in the same hand, that's why it's called the one hand, I'm going to scoop the hair up, put my fingers underneath, and then use the straightener just to follow the comb, creating a real small, subtle bevel in the hair. So again, I'm going to do a parallel diagonal section just above, using my thumb like a sectioning clip, then scooping the hair, the section, placing my comb underneath, and then following with the straightener and creating a nice subtle bevel in the hair. And I'm just going to follow that in diagonal sections all the way across. Until it's shiny and beveled and perfect and gorgeous.
So, Lee, could you please explain? So when we started doing these online masterclasses, last year on a Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So we've only been doing them not quite a year yet. So, or is this our second? Lydia, when did we first started doing these? It was. I
want to say about a year ago now.
A year ago, wasn't it? About a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago.
Coming up for a year.
Coming up for a year. And is there any little tip you would say, like, to getting a really good finish with the straighteners there, Lydia?
Yes, my big tip is not to go over and over and over with the straighteners like I see quite a lot of people doing. My big tip is to just go once, but go slowly across your section. Because what you're trying to do is just close that rough cuticle on the outside of the hair so that you have a real nice, gorgeous shine. And if you're going over and over and over again, you're not necessarily smoothing the cuticle. You might be creating more static in the hair. So that's a really good tip. It also helps you keep your sections after you've so painstakingly gone through and created them with your one-hand section technique. Just very nice and slow and methodical. And, you know, I like the phrase, if you do it right, do it once.
Exactly. Right, guys, just to let you know that we have our winner, and I will be announcing them at the end of the presentation today.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So, cool. I've just created this lovely graduation at the back. What does everyone think?
Gorgeous from here.
Oh, thank you so much. So, this also is an amazing technique for people with fine or medium to fine hair, because graduation, where layering is a removal of weight, graduation is a build-up of weight. So it's a really good way of creating some thickness into the hair. And I would say most of our clients, maybe 70% of my clientele, have fine to medium fine hair. So it's a real winner for clients who are saying, you know, my hair's quite fine. How do I make something kind of funky? How do I make it look thicker? How do I make it look fuller? So it's a really, really good haircut for people with that kind of hair type. So now we've got this little hangy bit, overhang, from where it became disconnected towards the outer sections. And I'm going to connect this in with my first guideline. And I need to get eye level to do this. And I'm just going to cut it freehand. I'm not going to spend lots of time doing it though, because like I say, we're going to get really creative with the outline at the end. So now, releasing my front section and just putting a little bit of water into the parting to get rid of where all of that clip mark is from my bump. And I'm going to wrap dry and straighten the front really quickly. it's so super quick when you do it section by section. But obviously, again, this doesn't, you know, your timings in the salon don't always allow for you to go through and wrap, dry and straighten each section individually. However, when you do get the opportunity to do it, it is lovely because you can see so clearly, it breaks it down, but it's also really impressive to the client because they won't necessarily have had anyone put that much care and attention into their haircut before. And you can explain to them why you're doing that. You know, it's because you want to see the natural hair fall and you want to check the cut as it goes along. And they'll be so impressed, you know, because they've got a hairdresser looking after their hair that cares that much.
Bond says, what do you do with your spare time, Lydia?
That is an excellent question.
Do you have any spare time? Do you have any spare time?
I do, because a lot of what makes me busy is completely choice. I am a very passionate and obsessive hairdresser, so pretty much everything I do for fun is hairdressing related as well.
Or business related, I bet.
Yeah, or business related, exactly. So I love, in my free time, I'm actually married to a hairdresser as well, so we spend a lot of our free time practicing things, practicing techniques, entering competitions, going to hairdressing events, and that is pretty much our
life.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
So do you have any hobbies outside here?
Do you know what? At the moment, I don't. But
you've got a little baby as well, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I guess that's it. Between hairdressing, business ownership, and having a baby, it does sound like I have no life.
Yeah.
But I choose to do all of the things that are hairdressing related in my free time.
You're doing something you love, so it doesn't feel like work, does it really? Let's be honest.
Absolutely. And that is it. It's so true. You know, I think that people understand that about me, you know, when I'm talking about what I love to do. They're like, oh, you're so lucky to have a job that you love so much and be passionate about so much. And it's true.
But your friends are jealous of you, aren't they?
They are. They are. My friends are incredibly jealous of me. And I'm, you know, I am really proud that I found something that I love so much. It's such an amazing career to be a part of. So now just going to put in our baseline at the front by connecting it into the back. And I'm going to be kind of freehand cutting that. I'm just going to use the back of my comb to steady the hair. So it's very, very much in its natural fall. And we're using the inside out method. So I'm working from the inside of the haircut to the outside of the haircut, and I'll be doing the same on the other side.
Did you ever struggle with balance, Lydia?
Yes, I still do. I still do. You know, especially when you're getting creative, balance is something that sometimes you have to just admit to yourself that you've got to go back and perfect it and get it right, because, you know, you can't always trust your kind of intuition. You have to check and check and check again. Fabulous. Baseline cut. And, you know, when you're cutting like this, what you can see is sometimes the hair sort of expands and starts flicking out. So right now, she doesn't really look that connected. But we are going to deal with that by taking another slither section at the top of our section, pulling that out. And then I'm going to change my body position to the back of the lovely Leonie's head again. And pulling it back to meet my back guideline section. And just taking off anything that doesn't meet. And that should just be minimal. There you go. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
That tiny little bit of hair. The rest of it's all fallen out because it's not, doesn't reach that far back. That makes it nice and easy. And then we're going to change to vertical sections. Again, just bringing them right the way back, looking at our guidelines and just checking to see if there's any hair to come off. Can anybody see?
Yeah, it's a tiny bit there, isn't there?
Smidgen.
Dust, we call it in the game, right?
Dust. Moving dust. That's all it is. Body position super important as well, because right now what I could do is if I was standing in the wrong place, which I actually am, to be honest, but bringing it back to yourself means that it's definitely going to be where your guideline is definitely going to be in the right place. But if I was moved over to the side of her at all, this piece would be too short. I'd be under-directing. Exactly, we create a world of problems for ourselves by taking more length off that we then have to go back and refine and balance into the hair, or try and do the same on the other side. Lovely, so there's no more to come off. She looks gorgeous. And then our last section is on the top. Just going to release. And with this, we're going to be taking our sections vertically and meeting them again to our back guidelines, and just creating, again, your fingers at a slight angle. And then our next section, same again. Fingers at a slight angle. Connecting it into the underneath. And the last one. I'm just going to cross-check that with our trusty cross-check method. And removing any dust that we see that's just slightly out of place, although if it's more than just a little bit, more than dust or more than just a smidgen of hair, then we need to address the fact that we might have gone slightly wrong. So we might have moved our body position or changed our finger angle by accident, which is why it's really important to check yourself constantly. And then we can go back, revisit that section and what we did wrong. Lovely. Front section. I'm just going to release the front top. And taking, again, vertical sections. So from the parting, like so. And holding that piece up, taking a small amount from our back top section and standing on the opposite side of the head. So standing on the side of the head opposite from your section and pulling the head directly up. And we're going to be connecting from our back, which I don't know if you can see, there it is. And your fingers angled. And just constantly checking that the hair is completely pointed up to the ceiling, and that it's our finger angle that's changing, and we're not moving the hair. So angled at 45-degree angle. And that makes the hair go from short to longer at the front. And continuing with our next section. If you're ever struggling to see your guide, which is what I'm doing a little bit here, you can go back and take a little bit more of your previous section just so that it's a bit more visible. And I always find that really helps me. Yeah, brilliant. So now my guide a lot clearer.
Emily has just said I should do a competition for the best comment. We will do that next week. Thank you for that. Or the best question. Thanks for that. We should do that for next week.
Questions are great, aren't they?
They certainly are.
The more the merrier.
Yep.
Next section. Just pulling directly up and following our guideline. Continuing right up to the outer edge. And last section.
So really, you're just connecting it with the back and you're not worried about the sides at the moment?
Not even touching the sides at the moment. Right. Just connecting with the back.
Yeah.
And then, once all of that is done, we'll comb it all down. And you'll see that the top is actually quite a bit longer than our sides underneath. So now we're going to wrap, dry and straighten, and this is when you would connect in that underneath, but we're going to get really creative and unique with our outline. So just quickly wrap, dry and straighten. Sorry if it's a bit noisy.
One day they'll invent a quiet hairdryer, I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure if they can invent an electric quiet car,
yeah,
a hairdryer at some point, surely.
We're getting there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Amanda's just said you should get onto it, Lee. Dead right.
Exactly. The silent pink hairdryer. So I've also decided that my client's head shape would really suit a side parting. And she loves wearing her hair in side parting. So we're going to move it over to a side parting. It's funny, isn't it, in the salon when somebody's trying to have a conversation with you and you can't hear them past the hairdryer.
I know.
Sometimes you just nod, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, my wife's partly deaf, and she really struggles in the salon with the hairdryer and the noise, and the stylist trying to talk to her. She's just nodding and hasn't got a clue what the stylist is talking about.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the silent hairdryer would be
a great extension, wouldn't it?
For Jess. But there's only so many times you can say pardon before you just agree.
Jamie has said, how would you go about doing a long graduation on really curly hair, or would you avoid this haircut on curly hair?
So a graduated bob on curly hair?
No, long graduation.
A long graduation. I think a long graduation is a perfect haircut for someone with curls. It's lovely because the Lee Stafford recipe haircuts lend themselves really well to a variety of different hair types, I would say. But they look lovely finished on curly hair and on straight hair.
So they're little dinky straighteners you've got.
Yeah, indeed. Well, these are my favourite ones for bobs, because obviously there's some parts of a bob that are really quite short. I struggle to get the full width of a straightener underneath. So a little mini straightener is always quite handy to have. Absolutely. When you're doing a graduated bob. So there we go. What does everyone think of that shape so far?
Looks great.
And that hasn't even been refined or finished. So I'm really, really happy with that. Beautiful. And this is the fun bit. Mwah. Chef's kiss. This is the fun part. So I have a really quirky, fabulous, beautiful client in front of me. And we are going to cut right into our shape to create a beautiful outline on this.
Well, up until now, correct me if I'm wrong, this has been quite classic, hasn't it?
Very classic. But this is how customizable a classic technique can be. It's all in the refining and the finishing process. It doesn't have to be millions of disconnections in a haircut to make it cool and quirky. At the end of the day, it still has to work for the client as well. It still has to be wearable every day when they get out of the shower and they blow dry it themselves. They want to feel gorgeous, not just on the day that they leave the salon. So something really classic that falls beautifully, but then with its own personality is going to be a surefire winner. Okay. Now, really important to think about what is going to suit your client, because we talk, in the Lee Stafford video for the graduated bob, there's a really nice introduction where you talk about consultation, Lee, and how important it is. And what you'll find is, you know, obviously a massive part of that consultation is the client telling you what they want. And then also a lot of the time, the client will actually ask you for your advice. They'll ask you what is going to solve their problems and what's going to make them feel and look beautiful. So when we're talking about outlines and shapes on haircuts, you want to be highlighting and revealing the parts of a person that they love about themselves the most. And you definitely don't want to be revealing or highlighting the parts of a person that they're maybe insecure about or shy or don't like about themselves. So that's why it's really important when we're looking at face shape that you're thinking about the person's features. So for instance, if we're releasing the cheekbones and jawline in a haircut by revealing it with a hairline or a fringe, is that a really beautiful part of the client that they feel really confident about? Have they got an amazing jawline that you really want to show off? Or do they not really like their jawline? Do they feel quite self-conscious about their jawline or their chin or their face shape? Would you want to then bring the outline down to maybe cover their jawline and highlight something slightly lower down so it draws the eye away from their jawline and elongates the face slightly? So these are all things to think about in terms of suitability for a client. You know, imagine the outline of the haircut is almost like a big arrow and you're pointing at a person's features. You know, do you want to be pointing at their nose? Do you want to be pointing at their cheekbones? Do they have an incredible jawline or beautiful lips that you want to be accentuating or highlighting? This lady has got a beautiful jawline and she has got beautiful cheekbones. So I am going to be cutting our outline right up and revealing this lovely jawline here. So in order to do that, I am going to be sectioning a little piece out from the front because I actually want to disconnect it and look at it at the end. So I'm just going to section a piece around the fringe area completely away, first things first. And I'm going to clip that out of the way. And then I'm going to find the point on her face that I want to highlight, which it's really important that I keep balance. So I need to find the same point on the other side, which is about in line with just above the corner of her mouth. So I'm just going to cut myself a little guideline there. So that I can find it. And then I'm going to be following from the hairline at the back. And I'm going to be following all the way around in a nice curve. And the first thing I'm going to do when I'm creating my outline, I'm going to almost treat it like drawing. And I'm going to draw a line in with my scissors, completely freehand. So just resting my scissors on my fingers and cutting.
Would you ever do that with clippers?
Yeah. What I probably do personally, because I feel like I have the most control, is I do it over with my scissors to begin with, to draw in my line, and then I might go in with the clippers afterwards.
You should sketch it in first.
That's what I like to do because I personally feel confident, most confident, drawing in the line with my scissors. Because I don't know if you can now see, but I've drawn it in. So I have not gone through the entire section yet, but I've drawn it in on the outline. And then, what you could do is get some clippers now and just take out the rest of the underneath now that you've nicely and slowly gone through with your scissors. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use little neck trimmers as well because they're nice and small. So give me a little bit more control. And you're going to kind of go up from underneath so that you're almost going too long rather than going too short. And you can go back and refine and refine and refine and refine rather than accidentally taking off too much on your shape. It's very hard to go back from that once you've done that. So there we go. There's our beautiful outline. Wow. And can you see how it's really like highlighting that beautiful part of her face where she's got a lovely jawline? But imagine on the wrong person, that would actually accentuate a jawline that they don't feel very confident about or comfortable about. So you might then instead want to design an outline that comes maybe a centimetre below their jawline, elongating their face and covering that part of themselves that they're a little bit more uncomfortable about. And then I left a little bit at the fringe, obviously beforehand, that I'm now going to release, and we can have a bit of fun with this. I haven't really decided what I want to do with it yet. I just thought that we could see what
freestyling.
That's the part of the creative fun. So I'm going to take my scissors with my finger in the middle. I'm just going to slice down the hair and connect it in with our shortest area. So it's disconnected, but connected at the same time. And there you go. You've now got this length to play with. And you see when you kind of wear it back, it can be a nice fringe, or I was thinking that it would look really nice if you got the straighteners and just put a slight bend or a slight curl in it by just turning it kind of 90 degrees away from the face. On both sides. Get a bit of hairspray. And there you go.
Love them little bits disconnected.
So she's got like a bit of softness, a bit of something funky and fun to play with. but it's got all the edginess and the
Mm.
crispness.
It's amazing how just leaving that little bit of disconnection around the front turns something very classic to something quite young and modern.
Exactly. She's got so many options with that. She can really have some fun. She can push it completely off her face, but with a slight bevel or a slight curve, it jumps up, and you know, she can tuck it behind her ear. It's just got some creativity and some softness and some fun.
And it's very subtle and very simple, but it's got a nice soft feeling to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. When you use the word creative to describe a haircut or a hair color, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be crazy. It can still be subtle. It can still be beautiful. It's creative because the person who's done it has used creativity and, you know, their artistry to make something bespoke and unique for a person.
And that's, I suppose, where you can really put your, you know, personalize it, can't you?
Exactly. You can personalize it I could spend another hour personalizing this, to be honest.
And just a quick question before you go, Lydia. Would you, these days, as a cutter and a colorist, would you cut before you color, or does that not matter so much anymore?
I do a mixture of the two, to be honest.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to me for a massive restyle, and what I mean by that is they come with long hair and they want to have a short haircut with creative color on it, or just any kind of color on it, I would do the haircut first for two reasons. Obviously, when you're removing this much length, to color it and then cut it off and put it on the floor would be
money and time.
massive waste of money and time. Exactly.
Yeah.
Waste of resources, waste of your time, waste of the client's time. So what I would do is one of two things. I might remove much of the length first and then do the color and then do the haircut again. So I'd remove the most of the length and then do the haircut on a shorter length. But sometimes, you know, especially when it's something very intricate or creative, I'd do the whole haircut first and then I would color it, because then I could see exactly where each hair is going to fall, whether you know, it's going to look nice with the color or whether the color needs to be adjusted for the cut.
Gotcha. The winner of the competition this week was Amber Rowland. 30 was the right answer. We've done 30 Lee Stafford Education Live Masterclasses since last year. So well done, Amber. Let me know where I need to send them products and what kind of hair you've got, and I'll get a goodie box off to you very, very soon. Lydia, another brilliant job. You are a star. Thank you very much for today. It's much appreciated as usual. You're getting loads of love on this feed. Thank you guys for watching again. And have a lovely week, and we will be back next week. So we'll see you then. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.